A few years ago, a very wise man told me something that really opened my eyes. He said, "You make your money in your business, but you preserve your money in the market, not the other way around." In other words, if you want to build wealth quickly with real estate, it's not going to happen if you only invest in passive buy and hold investments, using the small trickle of extra cash you're able to save from your day job. I mean, sure, it can happen eventually, but unless you're fortunate enough to have a job that pays you a ton of money, it's not going to happen fast. The math just doesn't work. If you ask anybody who has achieved true financial freedom by their 30s, assuming they didn't inherit all their wealth, they'll tell you how they did it. And they had to work their tail off in a very active business or a profession that funneled large quantities of cash into their bank account. Perhaps they owned a manufacturing company or a consulting business or a property flipping company, or maybe they had a high-paying job as a doctor or a lawyer or a salesman or professional athlete. Whatever the case, when people find and keep their financial freedom at a younger age, it doesn't happen by parking a little bit of cash and waiting. It happens by working very aggressively at something that earns a lot of money pretty quickly. If you plan to save or passively invest your way into wealth with a middle-class job, it will take you decades to get there. If you want to make it happen faster, you'll need to take the road less traveled. So let's talk about how a real estate investor gets rich. When we look at all the different real estate niches one can possibly specialize in, they all boil down to one of two possible paths. Path one, we call active investing. This is where you make your money in your business and you work really hard and aggressively at it. Some examples of an active real estate investor might be flipping houses, flipping land, wholesaling houses. And keep in mind, this isn't limited to real estate investors. You could also be an active real estate professional, like, for example, a general contractor or a property manager or a residential real estate agent or a commercial real estate broker or real estate appraiser or a property inspector. The list goes on. And in these professions, your means of making money is not passive. These people are grinding every day, working well over 40 hours a week, and as a result, they're making money a lot faster than a passive investor, and probably a lot faster than most W-2 employees out there in the world. These are self-employed business owners. They work hard, and if they're doing it right, they're reaping significant financial rewards in a much shorter time frame. Let's talk about path two. Passive investing. So passive investing is where you preserve your money in the market. So once you've amassed a respectable pile of cash through your active business or highly paid profession, if you're lucky enough to have one, you don't want to park all that money in your savings account. And you definitely don't want to blow all that money on frivolous things that have no long-term value. This is where you put your money to work so it generates cash flow and appreciates in value. Robert Kiyosaki put it pretty well when he said, "It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for." Remember, even if you've got millions sitting in your bank account, it can all evaporate over time with inflation if you don't find a way to preserve it and make it grow. And buy and hold real estate is a great option for preserving capital because it doesn't just preserve the value, it appreciates with time, assuming you buy it at the right price and hold it long enough to weather any recessions. And if you do it right, the property should generate enough cash flow to put additional money back in your bank account each year. And you can also leverage other people's money, OPM, to buy more real estate than the limited cash you have available. But there are a few catches with buy and hold real estate. First of all, real estate is not a liquid asset. If you need access to your cash, you'll have to either sell your property or get some kind of home equity loan, and there's no guarantee or timeline on if or when those options will be available to you. Liquidating real estate isn't nearly as easy as just pulling cash out of the stock market or from your bank account. The second catch is that buy and hold real estate is not a fast way to build wealth. A solid buy and hold real estate investment will create a small trickle of monthly cash flow relative to its cost, and this is great for generating recurring income, but unless you're inheriting the property or buying it at a small fraction of its current market value or making significant improvements to increase its cash flow, it's going to take a long time to build up a lot of equity this way. And the third catch with buy and hold real estate is that you need a pretty big pile of cash in order to invest this way. Sure, you may be able to put down a lower down payment if you're planning to live in the property and use an FHA or VA loan, or if you're using some other form of creative financing, but still, for most investment properties, if you intend to own that thing 100% in your own name, even when you're using other people's money, you can't play ball unless you have a large chunk of cash reserves to work with. And these problems underscore the strategic importance of starting on path 1, which is, as we said, making your money in your business, and then pursuing path 2, which is preserving it in the market. Not the other way around. We don't want to start on path 2, we want to start on path 1. If you can make your money in an active business through path 1, you'll reach your goals a lot faster than if you try to skip ahead and start by being a passive investor on path 2. So I put together a couple of illustrations to try to visually explain what these two paths look like. I call them the 5 to 10 year roadmap and the 30 to 40 year roadmap. The 5 to 10 year roadmap is path 1, which involves active investing. The 30 to 40 year roadmap is with path 2, which is passive investing. And as those numbers imply, it takes a lot longer to get there when you start with path 2 and you're not willing to go down path 1. When a real estate investor decides to tackle path 1 first, they're going to have a motorboat to get to where they're trying to go. But if an investor tries to skip directly to path 2, they're going to be stuck with a rowboat, and it's going to take them a lot more time and effort to get to where they're trying to go. And if you want to see this illustrated even better, be sure to check out the blog post I put together where I created this Excel spreadsheet that beautifully illustrates the point of how this works and how important it is to generate larger sums of cash earlier on in this process instead of just starting with a small trickle of cash. And that blog post is called The Surprisingly Simple Math to Retiring on Real Estate, and I'll be sure to include a link to that beneath this video. Now, I realize many people may have legitimate reasons for trying to skip over path 1 and going directly to path 2. For example, perhaps you have a job that you just love more than any other business you could ever run. Or maybe you don't need to start a business to make lots of money because your job already pays you more than any business you could ever own. And some people just simply don't have the appetite for all the work and risk of running their own business. You know what? All of those reasons are fine. I'm not saying it's wrong to take the slower path to financial freedom. I'm just trying to point out that there are consequences for skipping directly to passive investing without taking the active investing path first. The path you choose makes a huge difference in the timing of when you reach your financial goals. There's a reason why it only takes some people a few years to reach financial freedom, while it takes other people decades to get to the same place. When I finally heard someone explain this to me, it seemed kind of obvious because, of course, you're going to move slower if you insist on using a rowboat instead of a motorboat. But even so, I spent many years failing to understand this basic concept. Nobody ever spelled out the obvious truth for me, but it made so much more sense when I finally grasped what was going on. And that's when I decided to put path 2 on hold and redirect my efforts to focus on path 1 first. And for me, path 1 was a land flipping business, which has just been an amazing cash generating machine that has allowed me to get so much further, so much faster. And like I said, there's nothing technically wrong with skipping path 1 if a person has legitimate reasons for doing so. It's just important to recognize that it makes a big difference in the speed. Starting with path 2 is the long, slow way to get to where you're trying to go. Even if you get lucky and the value of your investment doubles in a couple of years, it's rare, but it's possible. I've seen it happen. The growth is still going to be much slower than running an active business that can generate cash 10 times faster than a passive investment will. If If you want to get there faster, stop relying on that small trickle of extra capital you have from your job. Build a business that generates larger, more frequent influxes of cash and pour that money into your buy and hold properties. Focus your efforts on path 1 first. And if you want to learn more about how I did it with a land flipping business, be sure to check out the Land Investing Masterclass, which is specifically designed to help you get organized and get started making money with a land flipping business. I'm not going to lie though, land investing is hard work, but if you stick with it and stay faithful to the process, you will see results. I love helping people get into the land flipping business because it was a huge part of my financial success story, and I've seen it change the lives of a lot of other people as well. Check out the link below to learn more about the course in the description. I'll see you in the next video.